So the Chicago Bears have a gamble on this team that just paid off in a huge way. What I'm talking about is not too long ago, the Bears made a pretty unorthodox undrafted free agent signing, and now he's going to be starting at left tackle after the bye. You guys know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Theo Benedet, and actually the unorthodox part is that they brought him in from the Canadian League. Now, I'm going to talk about why that's super significant and how that may have greatly affected his development into a good NFL player. I really like what we saw out of him against the Raiders. You got to admit, it is so cool when you get a player who's essentially free as an undrafted free agent and he becomes a significant contributor, and the Bears are starting to show that they're really adept at doing so. And a guy that I trust a lot, Clay Harbor, he for one believes that he's got a higher upside than incumbent Braxton Jones. And his performance against the Raiders was pretty nice too. It's encouraging when you understand what actually transpired, because you know that first half against Max Crosby, it was not great, right? But then Theo Benedet, he was shifted over to left tackle to take over for Braxton Jones, and that's really when he balled out. But in the general sense, we got to look at the numbers here. Theo Benedet, he played at left tackle and right tackle versus the Raiders. This is from Jay at Just Another Year with the Chicago Bears. He's fantastic. What's up, Jay? Out of 68 snaps, 44 as a pass blocker, 24 as a run blocker, 0 sacks, 0 quarterback hurries, 0 quarterback hits, 2 hurries. But you got to look at both of those hurries came while going against Max Crosby at right tackle. You got to look at this. Essentially a rookie getting his first NFL action, an absolutely solid day getting his first work at left tackle. And I talk about he's essentially a rookie. He hasn't played much for the Chicago Bears after the underwear scene in Hard Knocks, and he got injured, missed so much time, and now we have him starting at left tackle, and it's really cool. I'm really into this. And if you look back in the history, the Bears signed Benedet as an undrafted rookie in 2024. He spent all of last season on the practice squad, and then he signed a futures contract in January, and he's stuck around competing for a starting spot on this offensive line all through training camp. But let's get to the developmental part, why this was unorthodox. I can talk about whether he's going to pan out at left tackle or not. I can talk about whether we're going to have a shift from right tackle from our starter coming over to the left, and then maybe Trapillo's going to go to the right tackle spot. Like all of these possible shifting scenarios, I'm not really going to talk about that. You can get that anywhere. But what I want to impart to you is why a big reason why this may have been a bigger developmental shift than any of us realize, because he is coming out of Canada as the best offensive lineman they have ever produced out of the college ranks. So many accolades. So let's go through some of the differences between the two versions of football in the trenches between the United States and Canada. It's significant because you see the college game, it's a little different, so measurables on progress can be really challenging because there's so many differences, particularly for offensive linemen, and I don't always think about this. I don't think we're realizing this. And this came from an interview with Benedet by Steph Sanchez on 49erswebzone.com. Surprisingly, that's a weird source. But this is an interview with him as he was coming on to the Chicago Bears before the 2024 season. So this is a question. You mentioned Canadian football is very pass-heavy. So what is your comfort level with run blocking? This is from Theo. Yeah, I mean, we're pretty relative to other Canadian teams, pretty run-heavy offenses. So I've had a good coaching time in terms of that. Then yeah, the big difference coming down here has been that in Canada, the D-line is a yard off the ball. And so not having that has been an adjustment just in terms of having to change your footwork. You've really got to speed things up. Not to mention the different level in competition in the NFL, I might add. Let's get back to what Theo had to say. It's a little more important to gain ground off the line of scrimmage. Just learning how to adapt to not having that yard buffer That has been something that's part of the reason why I wanted to go to the Shrine last year and then to the CGS this year, was just to get more and more reps at what this looks like in the American game. Adapting to that difference, it might not be so tough for me due to the fact that my agility and explosion numbers, I'm going to say that they're elite. If you look at his RAS profile, they were definitely really elite. And also, he actually played track as well. He was a shot putter. Really good for your footwork. I think this has just been really interesting how it took him a little more time to adapt to the American game. When you don't have that buffer, plus a different level in talent and speed, that must have been a difficult adjustment. And kudos to the Bears offensive line staff. Most definitely Dan Rouchar, working with this player and developing him coming out of last year through camp to be really, he showed out really well against the Raiders, and now you're looking at him likely starting against the Washington Commanders. A little lighter competition. He's not going to be opposite, really, arguably the best pass rusher in the entire NFL. And it could be even worse for them, right? For the Bears. If Darnell Wright fails to return at right tackle, we're talking about a reshuffle, right? But let's focus right now on left tackle because that's what we know for sure. And Benedet, he could be way better off moving into this Washington game because he's going to be actually prepared. He's going to come in and play left tackle from the start. He's going to have all this extra practice time coming off a bye week and into the Monday night game. There's even more time. And this is here from Caleb Williams talking about Benedet. He's grown tremendously in the development of his body, but also mentally in football. He's grown tremendously. Kudos to him having that mindset of, I'm going to keep growing. I'm not in a position I want to be in, and when my opportunity comes, that's when I'll shine. I mean, the main problem, right, that he faced against the Raiders, man, just higher severity than what he's going to face in Washington. Max Crosby, if you're starting at right tackle, if you're going to play right tackle, Max Crosby was not the ideal player to make your starting debut against, right? He was playing left tackle and then he was playing right tackle and then moved to left tackle when the Bears decided Ozzie Trapillo was a better fit at backup right tackle, and that's with the Darnell Wright elbow injury, I believe. So the Bears offensive line was kind of in a tricky situation, but then it's becoming pretty obvious. I mean, if you look at the eye test, the coaches are already hinting at this, that Braxton Jones, he is not fully recovered from that ankle injury, and that is a huge thing. We can't just let that set. It completely made sense when Benedet came over to relieve him, and then you had Trapillo coming in at right tackle. Things seem to really click a lot better on the offensive line, but Max Crosby is an absolute beast. So you're looking at when Benedet was moved to left tackle and pulled Braxton Jones, then put Trapillo in at right tackle. It didn't necessarily mean that Benedet was going away from Crosby. They could have shifted Crosby around. They chose not to do that. But the Bears think it can go different in Benedet's next game starting at left tackle. Ben Johnson really believes in him. He's taken a step in the right direction. I have a lot of confidence in him. If he goes out there and is called upon, he's going to go out there and battle it out. And I think the key point to all this, every guy that Benedet's going to face is not going to be Max Crosby, right? The Bears are going to line up against Washington. They're not going to face an absolute wrecking ball. He's going to have more time to prepare. And he was a premier player in Canada. It looks like now he's adjusted to the American game, and it looks like the Bears got an absolute steal if he continues to play in the same manner that he did against the Raiders. I'm really excited about it. And then also you're looking at the Bears shelling out so much cash for this offensive line. Darnell Wright's going to eventually have to be paid again. Having a guy like Theo Benedet, if he can outplay Braxton Jones, and also the offensive line is the sum of its parts, right? When you have better players like Dahlman, like Tooney, like Jackson, You can play around with some of these other positions and plug somebody like Theo Benedet in at left tackle and have him be successful because he has the support of better players. Not to mention, you have so much money being shelled out at this offensive line, not having to pay Braxton Jones, perhaps even getting some value on the trade market if the Bears choose to do so. If he loses his starting spot, I think it's better for everyone. You've got a younger player, and Braxton Jones has been absolute solid for the Chicago Bears, a 5th-round draft pick, playing all these years the way that he has. I think it's just with a team you can't be sentimental, and if it's time for a changing of the guard, let's go to Theo Benedet. Proof is going to be in this first Washington game. We'll see what we have. I'll keep you posted on the Darnell Wright injury as well. Would really love to get Trapillo on the field as well, but only if it's necessary. You guys bear down. You guys are always awesome. So supportive. Thank you for helping me grow this channel, and I'll continue to be here on the daily as we go through the bye week and beyond. We'll talk soon, guys.